41 and 45, my God, what a success rate. Why are you coaching the AFL again? She was inducted in the Sports Hall of Fame in 2013, gained her sports science degree and done a thesis examining the behaviours of elite level coaches. Did you do me?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God for that. And then, whatever she says about me comes, it's credential, it's good, she likes me. I'm going to stay her friend for life. Jenny owns her own business, best on ground performance, and currently works with elite sport players and coaches, but organisations as well, such as yours. May I introduce you, Jenny Williams.
These guys have all been nice. These guys have all been nice. Now you can see a bit of the other side of sport from me. And we're not going to be paying out anyone today. We're just going to be looking at one of the biggest things I've found with psychology is most kids go to university and learn psychology. Most coaches go to conferences and hear about psychology and do very little of actually doing anything about it or any part of it. So today I would like you to take away something that you're going to do with your group or at least think about. So I've called this Milgrams meets Essendon. Lesson in conformity and difficulty in challenging authority. The story in pictures. Most of you would have, is there anyone in the room that hasn't heard about Essendon and drug saga? I would be really amazed if there was anyone. But I'm just going back to, first of all, their motto for last year, in case you didn't know. That was Essendon's motto at the start of the year, whatever it takes. Now, that's an interesting motto to start off with. And then, I'm not going to go through too much about it, but, you know, there's this bloke named Stephen Dank. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's a sports scientist. Well, maybe he's not even a sports scientist, because they now say that he actually isn't affiliated with them, but he was the one that was working and doing a lot of injections of different things into players. Now this doctor who is on the side, Bruce Reid, he actually wrote a letter to Essendon saying, I'm a little concerned that we're actually putting things into our players, and of course the letter got lost. There's coaches, there's this guy. He never even signed his name to most things, he'd just put the weapon on the end of his, all of that. And that's from his interview in Channel 7. So again, this was a team of people who are out to win. Remember, it's whatever it takes, and remember Roger's quote on what will people do at different levels. So the bombshell hits, and all of a sudden, yes, here's Essendon, oh, what's going to happen? They get a notice of charge, and that's all there. And in fact, most of the bigwigs are around today. Maybe we could ask them to come up and talk about exactly how this happened. They're all on site today, nearly all of the people who made these decisions. So Essendon get this rule of charge. My husband tells me it's interesting after dealing with some people in the high-level police force that one of the things is if you're going to be found to be guilty of something, come out early and say, yes, I'm going to be guilty, and then the other people aren't quite prepared with their charges yet. So again, sometimes coming out and saying, oh, this is what's wrong, oh, we did this. Oh, the other people, what have they got against us yet? Well, they're actually only mounting their case. So again, how people portray things is also very important. So you had Mike Fitzpatrick and then you had Andrew Demetrio coming up, and of course all the things going on. These guys are there. These are all public photos, so it's not as if I've made anything up. These were all charged. This is a cartoonist, had the best time with it. AFL, Dank Stank, Heard Blurred, and Masada said Saga. So you're looking at this. What could possibly go wrong? And it's sort of funny, yeah. Maybe they are probably very, very lucky not one of their people that were injected young men was my son, because they would have been in more trouble than they think they're in now. James had spent morning time reading to his kids, the SADA interim report into the Essendon supplement program. Dons are out. They were a huge decision to actually go, okay, no, they're not allowed to be involved in finals. Changed the complexity of what went on for the whole season. And last of all, this was in Adelaide Advertiser yesterday. So again, it's created a huge amount of controversy and everyone has opinions on it. So these are the ones I'm most concerned with, and I'm going to ask you your opinion. And I'm going to ask you to see what you think, and I'm going to give you some more ideas of stuff, and then we're going to go back to what would you have done. So what if? What if? What if the sports science guy, sorry, it's got two ends in it, sports science guy knew it was illegal? What if the coaches knew it was illegal? What if the players knew it was illegal? What if the players didn't know? What should the SADA do based on all these information? And this is pretty true, isn't it? How would you feel if you're a young athlete and you're just doing what you're told? I walked out of a psychology thing last week with two people And they said, stupid 18-year-old, they're adults, they know better than that, they shouldn't have done this. And it was a really interesting point for me, because as a psychologist, I'm going to say, maybe, why do I think ASADA, clubs and businesses should get to know Stanley Milgram and his experiments? Who in here knows about Stanley Milgram? There's a few psychs, there's a few people. Who doesn't know anything about Stanley Milgram? Any person who's been in a Year 12 class of mine will tell you they know about Stanley Milgram. Because I think we need to know this experiment, and I think we need to pass it on, because it is one of the most valuable experiences that you can learn as a young adult or as an older adult into decision making. Volunteers needed. 2, let's have a look at the experiment. I'm just going to have a bit of fun with this. You're going to see this, then you're going to see some real people doing it, and why we can't actually do this as psychologists anymore. But I'll see how it was. Anyone in the room want to come up and be on the chair here with me? 2 people. You're pointing at someone. Would you like to come up? She's pointing at you. So there. How about someone from this side of the room? Come on. Female, I reckon. I need a woman. Oh, bloke? Come on up. Name? Dan. Hello, Dan. Jenny. Nice to meet you. Who's this? Alan. Hi, Alan. Alan, you're my mate, but we're going to tell Dan, okay? Alan and I are actually best good mates. He's one of my but he does not know. Dan does not know. He's come in to do this experiment. And I'm Stanley Milgram. You might have read about me in the great stories, but here I am. We're going to do an experiment today, and it's on learning. And thank you for both coming in. You know, fantastic that you're both going to do this. What's going to happen is one of you is going to be, it's on learning, and if you make a mistake, we're going to find a way, we believe you'll be better if you're subjected to some form of punishment. And our punishment today is electric shocks. That's fine, isn't it, guys? Yeah, both happy about that. You're really happy about this, because what happens is, this guy is actually known to me, and he knows that the shocks are going to be done to him, but Dan doesn't. And so what happens is we have, like, pick this and we'll see. Sorry, what happens is we'll have pick this and we'll see. Thank you, Ellen. Good point. We'll see who is going to be electric shocked and who's going to do the questioning. And the person that's got my initials on it is the one that's going to be the one that will be shocked. Okay. And pick one. Oh, thank you. Oh, let's have a look. Who's got the initials on? Oh, sorry, you'll be the one being shocked. You're going to be the one doing the testing. Okay? Oh, that's great. Now, you did tell me before that you've got a bit of a heart condition, didn't you? Yeah. Do you think that'll be, we'll be right with that. Dan, you happy with that? Yeah. So Dan, just beforehand, just to make sure, Dan, that you understand that, what it's going to be like, we're going to have 2 rooms, and he'll be over in this room here. So could you just come with me? Both of you will be over in this room. Separate room. But Dan, just beforehand, come over into this room, and Alan, I'll just ask you to stand up for a moment while we hook Dan to the machine just for 2 secs. Okay, Dan, petition here, can't see, separate room completely. We'll just hook you up. You can stay in here, because we'll just turn it up, to about 20 or 30, and we'll just, zap. And he goes, oh, that really hurts.
Oh, that really hurts.
See, I've got volunteers here. And you go, you'll be right, mate. All right, so, well, that's what we're going to be doing. That's 20, but we can go up to 240 volts, all right? Is that okay? And the monitors will have on severe, very severe, and things like that. So, okay? So go back to your seat over here. Alan, you come in. Thank you, guys. Okay. What Dan doesn't know is that Alan is actually never mic'd up. I'm going to show you actual footage of this in a minute, but they don't actually know that he's not ever connected. But there's a really good thing in here with Alan's voice all the time going, ow! Oh, that hurts! Ow! So in other words, so you're going to ask the first question, you're going to turn the dial up, and you're going to ask spelled up, or, something like that. And when he starts getting it wrong, we're going to start zapping him. So, okay, you're going to turn it up and start zapping him. Fine, and Alan's going, ow! But he's actually not doing anything, he's just actually left the room. But it doesn't matter, because he doesn't know that. The other thing is, at about 120, so at about 80 to 100, he starts going, this is really hurting, I'm not feeling very good, all of this sort of stuff. This is really hurting. And about 120, he stops talking completely. And at this stage, a lot of the participants start saying, are you sure, is he okay? Is he okay? Should I keep going? And I go, well, a non-answer is the same as a bad answer, so keep shocking him. All right? Now, it's really interesting. If we figure, let's say 240 volts probably would kill him, the interesting thing is, on this experiment, how many people would go right through to the end, and why is this important? Because, tell me in here, stand up if you believe you would have gone right through to the end. Stand up if you believe you would have. Okay, let's have the hands up now of the percentage that you think would actually go right through to the end. Who thinks 10% of people would actually generally shock people right through the end? Higher, higher? Higher, higher? Okay, 20%. I'm going up, put your hand up when you get there. 30%. 40%. 50%. 60%. Psychologists are starting to be around here. 70%. 80%? 90%? 100%. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Sit down. Let's have a little bit of a look at the video here. What would you have done? Interesting. We've now said, not one person stood up and said they'd do it. Is that true? Did we see anyone stand up and say that would be them? But we're all pretty happy to say a certain percentage of the room would. Pretty amazing, isn't it? It's always other people. Do always other people do bad things? Well, it's pretty interesting when you have a look at this. Hopefully. Let's go to the bridge.
What the participants don't know is that the learner hasn't been receiving any shocks at all.
Let me out! Let me out of here! Let me out!
His responses are being played on a pre-recorded CD.
Oh! Let me out of here! Let me out of here! Let me out!
When I get to intense shock, and then extreme intensity shock, and then dangerous severe shock, I need to stop really, don't I?
Well, the experiment requires that you continue.
What about in dangerous severe shock, and then the XXX?
Well, please continue. Just continue the experiment. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. The participant here deferring to the professor. Yes. And that deferring to the professor carries with it a diffusion of responsibility.
He signed his form and everything, didn't he?
Objection.
He signed his form and everything, didn't he? To say he was okay with
They
it.
signed their form and everything, didn't they?
Okay. Paper A cup, B wall.
It was Scary Ghosts. It's incorrect. 225 volts.
Let me out of here! Let me out of here! Let me out!
Number 3.
I mean, it's a classic example of what Milgrams showed. Somebody who, at face value, poses no threat to anybody, can, in these kinds of circumstances, proceed to the point of inflicting severe levels of pain.
Is it A cup, B wall, C aeroplane, or D lampshade?
You have to treat the absence of response as a wrong answer and just continue the procedure.
Okay, the response is wrong answer. 390 volts.
So now he's gone silent. So after the protest from the learner in the other room, the idea is now that the learner goes silent. So potentially there is the idea that these shocks have actually either rendered the learner unconscious or possibly even killed them.
C chain or D bicycle. We killed him.
He's not responding, so it counts as a wrong answer.
Okay. And run out clear gas. 405 volts.
Incorrect, 225.
Oh! Let me out of here! Let me out of here! Let me out!
I'm really not sure if I'm happy to continue doing this with him. He really sounds like he's in a lot of pain.
Well, the experiment requires that you go on.
Yeah, I know, but I don't really take any pleasure in putting that through a human being's arm.
No, but this is an experiment. It's essential that you continue.
What did I get 2 and 3?
Interesting.
Very interesting. So he was all for chucking it in.
Yeah, the prompts drove him back to the task. I think it was interesting that that second prompt talks about how essential it is for him to continue. It's essential that you continue. I think that draws on that sense of obligation to the wider scientific project.
Because it's...
Okay. If I now told you the experiments, number one, psychologists aren't supposed to do these experiments anymore because guess who it actually hurt? Not the guy being electrocuted, other people, because they did not believe, none of you were going to stand up and say you would have done this. And if I tell you consistently when they did these experiments, around 66 to 70% of people kept going right through to the end. Good people do dumb, bad things because we don't know better, or we are compliant to what happens. Now, this is a really important thing for you to understand in any of your businesses or any of the people who are there. If your authority figures are telling you things, people find it very difficult to question. Now, I'm going to this from the player's point of view. Because remember, I've been told 18 to 20 or 25-year-olds or university students, oh, let them look after themselves. Guess what? They're not in positions of power and they often don't know this. And when I show this about integrity with women, often to footballers, by the way, I say that 66% when you're sober. I'd hate to see what the percentage is when people are drunk. You know, so when people go out at night, and if the authority figure or the most significant bloke is a captain and doesn't respect people, there's a fair chance the rest of the team are going to do the same sort of thing. So when I'm talking about this, why is this experiment ethically difficult to do? Because it hurts the people who realise that I would do something like that and I never thought I would. So again, instead of this being a psychological experiment, I would like you to start taking it back to thinking about how does this work in my business? How does this work in sport? And why would Jenny be, if she was a parent of one of these kids, more livid than anyone else? Because let's go back to it. Who were the figures of authority? And I'd like you to talk about this on your table. You've got about 3 minutes just to have a quick discussion. Who were the figures? What difficulties would the players have in saying no? What is the team doctor's dilemma? Who should carry the responsibility? And last of all, is there a possibility of this happening in anything that you've got to deal with? So just have a quick talk amongst the people on your table, just for 5 minutes. Who were the people that you think, who decided this? And in the long run on your table, what would you do now if you're a starter? Because they don't understand Milgrams. They're about to give penalties to 12 or 14 individual blokes. So have a quick talk about it on your table. Who is usually in the AFL or an Essendon thing, they do trademarks beforehand or things that are important to the clubs. And I guarantee almost every one of them has trust as one of the words that's written up on the board. Trust, you must trust. So if you have that as one of the mantras that they're supposed to do, they trust in the authority. The other thing is, if you don't take these injections, and we're doing whatever it takes, there's a chance you won't get a game. There's a chance you'll get left out. There's a chance that you're not doing everything that the group said they're going to do to win. So again, not only start looking at this as a experiment in should young people do things or not, start to think about, are you the authority in your group? Are you well researched? Are you ethical? Because if you're not, I guarantee you're taking a lot of other people down that path and you're subjecting people. So my thing is, I love this sort of thing. If you're not used to why psychology is great in businesses, if you think this is great, there's groupthink. I can show you why shuttles blow up and everything else. But there is a reason why most businesses don't actually understand that good organisational or group psychology should be understood, because it determines what goes on with your group's behaviour, and it can stop you doing unethical things or things that you don't even know hurt the group. And I'll just finish off with this. Footnote. Fairfax Media revealed on Sunday that Dank had been appointed to work with the Women's Indian Premier League 2020 competition that was to be staged over 2 weeks in Singapore in September this year. The use of Dank being handed the chance to head up the sports science unit didn't sit well with Earl, who took to Twitter late on Saturday night to express his dismay. Well, unbelievable, I can't even play park footy, Flano can't watch footy, and Dank gets a new job. One of his followers then fired back claiming he wasn't bound to professional contracts, you two were. Earl then replied he was contracted at Essendon and on the payroll. So again, all the athletes, therefore, have these sanctions against them. Possibility is going to be there, and a guy who was at the back of it may not. He's going on with his career, got his job and everything else like that. So when I've asked you to think about this, today, as I said, thank you for listening. If you'd like to know anything more about this, or you have some ethical dilemmas, rather than just sort it out yourself, we actually think we've got some really good things for people to learn and find out. And if you've got any questions about this, maybe now you've got a bit better idea of when people ask you for an opinion on Essendon, rather than just what is printed in the paper, you can think of it from a slightly different and ethical point of view. And now, guess what? We actually have morning tea, which is going to be really good. Toilets, remember, are out that way. We're coming back in again at about 10:35, yeah? You said 10:35? So please feel free, chat with other people, and I'll put on, by the way, a few different little ethical videos, so if you're bored, there'll be a couple of things on here to have a look around when you're talking to people. So thanks for that.
Come on.